Chapter 5. Shadowed Reckoning. The whispers grew louder as Kaelin and Serenia moved cautiously through the desolate village. The sound was fragmented, a disjointed chorus of voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the crumbling buildings. Words were impossible to decipher, but the tone was unmistakable, a mix of pleading and menace. Kaelin's grip tightened on the hilt of his sword. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice low. Serenia nodded, her staff casting a soft golden glow that seemed feeble against the oppressive gloom. The faint light revealed broken carts, splintered doors, and abandoned belongings scattered across the dirt streets. It was as if the villagers had fled in a hurry, leaving their lives behind. "This place was cursed," Serenia whispered, her voice trembling. "You can feel it in the air." Kaelin didn't respond. He scanned their surroundings, his instincts honed from years of battle screaming that they were being watched. The whispers ebbed and flowed, like a tide, sometimes so faint they could almost be ignored, only to surge suddenly, making the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. The square at the center of the village was dominated by a well, its stone walls covered in moss and grime. A shattered sign lay nearby, its faded lettering unreadable. Kaelin approached the well cautiously, his boots crunching on loose gravel. The air grew colder with every step, and the whispers seemed to converge, focusing on this single point. Serenia hesitated, her amber eyes fixed on the well. "It's coming from there," she said, her voice barely audible. Kaelin peered into the darkness of the well, but the bottom was shrouded in shadow. The whispers swelled, a cacophony of voices that rose to a fevered pitch, then stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was deafening. "We need to leave," Serenia said, taking a step back. Her hand tightened around her staff, the runes on her cloak beginning to shimmer faintly. Before Kaelin could reply, a sound emerged from the well, a wet, slithering noise that sent a chill down his spine. He drew his sword, the steel catching what little light Serenia's staff provided. "Too late," he muttered. A dark shape began to rise from the well, its form shifting and unnatural. Tendrils of shadow coiled and writhed as if alive, and the air grew thick with a suffocating presence. The creature's body was amorphous, its surface gleaming like oil under a faint light. Two glowing orbs, like eyes, emerged from the mass, fixing on Kaelin and Serenia with an intelligence that was both alien and malevolent. "What is that?" Serenia whispered, her voice trembling despite her effort to sound composed. Kaelin stepped in front of her, his sword raised. "Nothing good?" The creature moved with unnatural speed, its tendrils lashing out toward them. Kaelin dodged, slashing at one of the appendages. His blade passed through it, severing the shadowy limb, but the tendril reformed almost instantly. Serenia raised her staff, a burst of golden light erupting from its tip. The creature recoiled, its form writhing as if in pain. "Light weakens it!" Serenia shouted. Kaelin nodded, adjusting his stance. "Keep it distracted!" Serenia unleashed another burst of magic, the light striking the creature and forcing it to retreat slightly. Kaelin moved swiftly, circling the well and looking for an opening. The whispers returned, now louder and more frantic, their tone filled with rage. "It's protecting something," Serenia said, her voice strained as she maintained the spell. "The well isn't just a hiding place, it's a prison." Kaelin's eyes narrowed. "Then let's make sure it stays that way." The battle raged, each strike of Kaelin's sword and burst of Serenia's magic pushing the creature back toward the well. But it was relentless, its tendrils reaching farther and faster with each attack. Kaelin's movements became more desperate, his strikes fueled by sheer determination as exhaustion crept in. We need to seal it! Serenia shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. Kaelin glanced at her, his chest heaving. How? Serenia's amber eyes blazed as she raised her staff high. Cover me. I'll need time. Kaelin didn't hesitate. He lunged at the creature, drawing its focus as Serenia began to chant. Her words were ancient, the language unfamiliar even to Kaelin. The light from her staff intensified, bathing the square in a golden glow that made the shadows recoil. The creature lashed out, its tendrils slamming into Kaelin's sword. He grunted with effort, deflecting the blows and keeping the creature at bay. Serenia's chant grew louder, her voice steady, despite the strain evident on her face. Finally, the light from her staff erupted in a blinding flash, striking the creature and forcing it back into the well. The whispers rose to a deafening crescendo before cutting off entirely as the light sealed the opening. The well's stones glowed faintly for a moment, then dimmed, leaving only silence. Kaelin collapsed to one knee, his sword digging into the dirt for support. Serenia lowered her staff, her hands trembling as the light faded. The square was silent, the oppressive presence gone, but the weight of what had transpired lingered heavily in the air. Is it over? Kaelin asked, his voice hoarse. Serenia nodded, though her expression remained grim. For now. But whatever that was, it won't be the last. Kaelin pushed himself to his feet, his gaze fixed on the well. Then we'll be ready. Serenia looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and fear. We have to be. As they left the village, the storm clouds above began to part, revealing a pale moon that cast its light over the ruined buildings. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The shadows of the past were far from done with them.